is really frustrating. It uses the title food noise, which is an exciting term in the obesity space because it shows for the first time we're talking about obesity as more than laziness, greediness, and moral failing. We're talking about the experiences that obese people have, what it's actually like, the battles they're facing, and in the context of having drugs that are working for all of those things, as well as the weight itself. Now, I feel a bit harsh criticizing the author for not really understanding this context, which is clear when you read the book. If you are an obese person who's been to a doctor who tells you really basic diet advice when you've spent decades dieting and it feels really insulting, that's what this book feels like when it comes to the lecture second half. The first half of the book is all about the history of diet drugs, it's the history of GLP-1s. I think that's quite nice, particularly if you're somebody who doesn't know that stuff and doesn't fancy googling it yourself, then you can read it from the book. But when he talks about GLP-1s, he is a GP registrar, which means that he is a practicing doctor, but he won't have worked as a private GP, and he doesn't reference working in any weight management clinics or even prescribing these medications to it. And I see now when you read this stuff why people come to places like TikTok, because it's not that relatable. When he just talks about appetite suppression all the time, there is so much more that people are getting out of these medications. And no, it's not highly documented in studies yet, so he's not going to draw on that because he can only draw on what other people have written. So the only reason that he is writing this book is because he is a Nepo baby, and his dad was a famous doctor called Dr. Max Mosley, who was brilliant, but sadly passed away. And a lot of this book is promoting the family business, which is the Fast 800 diet program, which again, I really disagree with. As somebody who has lived experience of obesity, one of the hardest parts is constantly trying to be on diets that are given to you by loads of different people, and nothing ever seems to work. And so pushing yet another diet on people when actually the GLP-1 drugs, if you've used them and understand them, you know they can be freeing for a lot of people to not have to do that. And you don't have to have had an illness to be able to identify with it. If you're going to write a book, you should really have a little bit more experience, is my general thought on this. A whole chapter of this book about diet tips, things like know your reason why, write it down and put it in different places. I've worked with people for many years who work in fields where they have to be under a certain weight, and certain people could not get their weight down. They would get to a point with their obesity where they were weight cycling, gradually going up and up and up, and they'd get to the point where they couldn't bring it down anymore, and they'd lose six-figure incomes. And that's not because they don't have a good reason why, it's because obesity is a disease and we haven't been tackling it in the right way. It's really frustrating to read this book because it's taking this whole new exciting world of GLP-1s and food noise and a new way of looking at obesity and dragging it back to the same old biases that we've had in the past that really aren't built on anything. But unfortunately, I don't think the author has anything to build that on because he just doesn't have the experience, but he does want to make the money.